All right, welcome everybody. So today we got the amazing Crystal on, and I met her in Penang, I guess a couple of months ago at a really cool event, Blair Singer event. And yeah, so welcome, Crystal. Where are you, and how are you today?
Hello, I'm Crystal. I'm from Singapore. And I think that's the same for you. You are currently based in Singapore too, right?
That's right.
Amazing. Yeah. So we are in sunny Singapore. And yeah, this is a really, yeah, amazing place.
It is, it is. So thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it, Crystal. You've got a busy schedule, a lot of things going on, and but it was just fun. I saw it at that event, and I thought it'd be fun to know more about your story. I know you're a coach now, a mentor. You do a lot of different programs, so I'd love to hear more about that. But yeah, or do you want to share a little bit about that, and then I'll ask you more how you kind of got into it, like what do you do for a living?
Yeah. So yes, like you're right. I'm a money coach right now. So I coach people around their money consciousness to get better with money. And the reason why I started on embarking on this mission is because many years ago, things seemed successful on the exterior when I was in the financial industry. But my world, when I went back home, it was totally the opposite. It was a living hell for me. Every day was like stepping on eggshell. It was a it was a horrific place filled with alcohol and cigarettes. And there was, yeah, and basically I was tormented mentally and emotionally every day by a person that I'm supposed to trust the most. And what happened was it was actually the power that my daughter gave me to really, trust in myself and lean into truth and strength to step out of it. And also through these years, because of the exposure in personal development, that also allowed me to gain a lot of clarity and give me another chance to be born again, to have a second chance in life, which is what inspired me on this mission to want to help others do the same too.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing, Crystal. I know that you've been through a lot, and thanks for opening up. Is this just recently, or when did this journey of you becoming a coach start?
Officially, this title, I only started in the middle of last year. It was when people wanted to approach me to want me to help them on their journey. But I would say I've been preparing myself for my whole life. I've realized that even in my career in the financial industry, I've always been coaching people in their finances, but not in a so I've always been coaching people on their finances. But because of my journey 5 years ago, that I really worked on the inner work on the healing, that was where I had the capacity to go deeper with people, which is
Mm,
why right now how I'm helping people is actually through the deeper inner work,
mhm.
which is more of like their purpose, spirituality, their blocks. And on the other side is to help them with the tools and the skills to get them to where they want to go. So it's a
Ah,
combination of what I did back in finance and also what I've learned through healing, through personal development.
wow, that is so interesting. So you're combining a lot of different things with personal development, overcoming, I guess, blockages, mindset, all these different things. Have you always been into that? Like ever since a child, or just how did you get into that?
Yeah, okay, so since I was a child, I always had this curiosity and I always felt this void. I remember when I was around 9 years old, I started asking questions like to my maternal grandma, to my mom about where did we come before we arrive here and where will we be going after this life? So I always had this question, but of course, they didn't have the capacity and the knowledge to answer this. Technically, nobody knows. Nobody. Okay, so what happened was that, of course, so what happened was that because of this void, and I couldn't get the answers that I needed, I suppressed this curiosity and this void. And of course, life happens and things pile up, and I just numb myself. Yeah, and stop being curious. But what happened was that many years ago, about 7 years ago, when I entered into an abusive marriage, that actually sparked that reignite this curiosity to get me to actually look deeper, look inward, and do a lot of this healing. So it's through this inner work, this journey of growth, that helped me to actually step back into who I am again. Mm,
I see, I see. Okay, so I'm sorry that that happened to you and it's very traumatic experience, I'm sure. And then, but what's come out of that, the personal development, the growth,
yeah,
learning about yourself, about the world, about everything around you, how the world operates. I guess that really made you like, whoa, what's going on
yeah.
here, right?
Like
And
awaken to
yeah.
the reality, to the matrix. Yeah.
Uh, uh,
Which
so
makes me truly grateful of what has happened. Because sometimes I feel like when we are not being challenged, we will just accept whatever we see on the surface. And there's no need to, I mean, when your reality is not disrupted, there's no need to dig deeper. There's no need to ask more questions. So to me, I always look for the lessons. I always look for the silver lining in any challenges or any obstacles, because there's always something for us to learn.
That's good. That's good. Now, I've met a lot of people that have been through rough situations too, but they never have that, what you're describing now. They never are able to go to that level. What
Hmm.
would you say, like, how are you different in that area? Or how can you help other people as well to be like, you know what, I'm right in the middle of it. I don't know what to do because you're so like tunnel focused. You can't really, where what's really going on. How can you get them out of that to be able to see what's really going on and to be able to work through those things like you did?
Yeah, the truth is that it wasn't always like this. So what happened is that most of the time when we face challenges, we tend to like to blame, not take responsibility. Meaning, if something happened to me in a normal situation, for example, entering into an abusive marriage, most people will have this instinct or this instant reaction that it's his fault, it's the other person's fault, like nothing to do with me. I'm like, yeah, but so that action perpetuates the issue. So I do see people who have been through multiple divorce, but because they never learned the lesson, they always make the same experience over and over again. Yeah, so that was what happened to me previously, until it hit me so hard that I had to face it. I had to say that, okay, right now, this has already happened. So what is my part? How did I co-created this, this dynamic? Even if, let's say, you only play 2% out of the 100%, but by just taking that responsibility of that 2% that you co-created, we are able to actually consciously shift our reality and regain the power.
I see, I see. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about because with my wife and, and I as well, sometimes I'm like, it's easy just to jump on and be like, it's your fault, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And then, but the thing is, what I've learned the last few years is instead of just reacting and jumping and going down that road of blaming the other person or my wife or whatever it is, let's just like just take a moment to pause and be like, what's going on? And but that took a while. I had to go through quite a bit of I guess referred as like healing almost to be able to be able to pause and be like, this is what's going on around me. This is what she's saying. This is what I'm feeling, but I'm not gonna step into that. I'm gonna step back and I'm gonna find out what's going on here and not get into that cycle, which you just kind of keep spinning and spinning and spinning. So I think I kind of know a little bit what you've what you're going through, but but then again, not everyone get out of it. So did you have somebody help you? How did did you have like a mentor? Did you have, was it your family? Like who kind of walked you through a little bit of that, or were you just like, you know what, I figured it out on your own?
Yeah, I had a ton of help. So basically, I mean, within my immediate circle, I didn't really have any role model to show me what a successful marriage or what a successful life that I truly desire is like. So because I feel like for many topics such as relationship, money, things that are really truly important, not many people actually talk about it. For example, even in marriage, most people will just tell you congratulations, but do you have people teaching you how to sustain a thriving marriage? Not really. Yeah, the elders will just say, oh, have kids, get married, have kids. And then what? But their marriage are not thriving. So what happened was that thankfully, because we are in a technological digital age right now, I seek for so many mentors and teachers and authors and coaches to help me work through that. So it was painful because, laying blame is easy because you just take away your responsibility, but really going through it to face all your hurt, your pattern, your trauma, your things that, is sometimes really is a hard pill to swallow. Sometimes it's not easy, but once you go through it, the transformation, the change, you realize how much power we have to create our own reality rather than just let life lead us by. So yeah, so the many coaches, the authors, the mentors, they were the one guiding me out of this directly or indirectly. Mm.
Fantastic. No, that's very, very good. That we can create our own reality. I think it's just very, very true. And that is something that for you guys listening as well. There's truth to that. And, just need, I'd love for you to expand more on that as well, because I can hear you talk, but what does that really mean? And how do you do that? Can you explain to somebody who's like, maybe this is the first time they hear that, but like, wait, I can create my own reality. Like, well, what is this stuff? Can you just share a little bit? Like, what does that look like for just person going through life, had a 9 to 5 job. I'm like, I'm just here, and now you're saying something like that, and it's like, whoa, never heard that before. Can you share more about that?
Of course. So I wonder how many of you, like are in a situation where you hate your job, you complain about it, but the next day you wake up and you go back to the same job that you hate. And like how many people they hate how their relationship is unfolding, but they still do the same thing without taking a change of action. And to be honest, many people are trapped in this matrix. They don't realize that they have the power to change. So even taking small action, for example, for people who don't like their job, don't feel fulfilled, how can, instead of actually saying, I don't like it, and still resigning to that fate, what happens is that sometimes it's really about questioning. How can I then change my situation? Just by changing a statement into a question, that becomes very powerful because your mind starts to seek out. So maybe if you don't like a certain thing, what can you do to change just a little bit so that you can take steps to move forward? Whether is it change your maybe learn a new skill or change your attitude or change something. Because if things are not working, by doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome, that's ridiculous. That's not going to be possible. So by just taking action, just knowing that, by taking one small action, there's potentially a different outcome. And imagine if every single day you take just a little bit of a different action, in a year, you will be totally in a different place
Uh,
mentally, emotionally, maybe even physically, but you will be different.
right. No, I think that's very, very good, very important because I think a lot of people are probably listening and they look at you and they're like, oh, you're all successful, you're doing great. Now you're doing this full time and kind of you're reaching your dreams, living your dream, right? Or like just flourishing in so many ways. But then when you start in the beginning, it's like, whoa, you've been through a lot as well.
It hasn't always been like this.
Yeah. And but then the starting with baby steps or starting with one little thing at a time, I think is encouraging. People need to know that because if not, you can feel very overwhelmed and you're just like, oh, how am I going to do it? But if you can just have one goal or one step every day and be like, you know what, I'm going to accomplish this one thing. and then go
Mm.
for it. Like I got into doing the 10,000 steps challenge now. So I do that every day now for the last few weeks. And I've, but told like my mentor says, you got to do it every day. You can't miss a single day but I mean, well, it's not a huge thing, but there's more to learn about it because if you miss one day, then it's easy to miss a second day and a third day and a fourth day, So
And it shows a lot about your character because how you do one thing is how you do everything. And it shows a lot about your discipline, your consistency, your commitment. And I feel like sometimes it's all this little action that compounds that count because you trust yourself. When you actually say a commitment, you keep to it, you develop this self-trust and self-confidence because you can believe in what you say. And
mm.
that is what matters.
No, that's good. That's good. So these are things that you then work with clients, right? People come to you, they want, hey, I want to work with you, I want to learn from you, I want you to be like my mentor. So then you'll sit down and you're not just talking about financial stuff, you're talking about, I guess, personal development, small steps you can take every day. So people feel a little bit more, what to say, not so overwhelmed. Like, hey, I can do this by working with you, right? So you're combining personal development with then financial stuff too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm. Yeah,
Okay.
and sometimes it could be like my clients that there's a big spectrum, but I feel like sometimes when the reason why we don't even take small steps because first of all, we don't even have a vision of what we want to create. So if you want to create your reality, recreate your reality, but you don't have a big picture of how you want it to pan out, it's really difficult, right? So it's really down to the little details of it. First of all, creating a vision and then breaking down to the steps, keeping the consistency, working on this self-trust, self-belief, and rewiring all this inner work and conditioning that is not serving us to bringing us to where we want to go.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. So for those listening, there's a lot there, but it's a process. So it doesn't sound because it can be, but you got to take one step at a time. And that's wonderful that you can work with people like my clients that can walk them through. So I want to know more about the financial stuff too, because that is
Mhm.
exciting as well. But tell me about like what was it like growing up in Singapore? Because you're Singaporean, right? You're born and raised here. And before we get into that, like were you into finances as well? What did you study? Were you a good student, not a good student? Like how did you get into that as well? Because not just personal development, you combine it with finances. What was that journey into that?
Yeah. So I studied in business. And uh, being in finance wasn't my first job. I actually started off working in retail, selling high-end skincare to wealthy people. So what happened was that my financial journey wasn't always like what it is right now. It wasn't always good. So basically, in my first job, because we are in a retail outlet, that was actually my part-time job when I was a student, and I converted to full-time because I was doing well. So what happened was that because it's a spending environment, our clients were spending and they are wealthy. And my colleagues and I were looking at their handbags, what they carry, how they bring themselves. All this temptation led us to also want to look like them. So what happened is that, we will actually save few months of paycheck to get a luxury bag, say Chanel, LV and stuff like that. Things that we don't even need, but because we are conditioned to see this every day, see how they spend the money. So I remember there were times that, just within 2 weeks, my paycheck was like, I have nothing in my bank account. And I had to borrow from my friend just to sustain another 2 more weeks before my next pay came in. That was crazy. But I know because, even within my family, nobody was talking about money. And my parents didn't know how to manage money too. So what happened was that I always had this idea that I work hard and I reward myself. And that was the only purpose I thought money was for. And when I actually left the cosmetic industry to then work in a bank, I realized that, oh my God, like this is a totally different reality. Like people were actually setting aside money to invest, to save and stuff like that. So I realized there's so much more I could do with money. And the higher I climb in rank, where I started serving more and more high net worth clients, that was where I realized, oh, from serving people who are like, we call them retail investors to high net worth client, even how they look and see and use money, it's so different.
Interesting. Interesting.
Mm.
You studied business in university,
Mhm.
and you graduated. You started in retail.
Yeah.
You're just like everyone else, right? Just buying stuff. I mean, what?
Yes.
If there's people listening now, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, that's what I do. I just buy the latest bag, the purse. I want to look good for my, when I go out or for Instagram photos or whatever, right?"
Mm.
Um, but then you went into a job in the bank, which helped you get a different perspective on life.
Yes,
For
because
those
I
people,
advising them on investment. So I was selling them the financial instrument, which then because of that, it led me to actually see money in a totally different perspective. And then I had conversations with them. I could understand their mindset, what was going through their mind when they think about it, how do they process, how do they view money.
Hmm. Very
Mm.
interesting. So, but for somebody listening who are like they're still working in retail and they
Mm.
just can't wait to get that paycheck to go buy that purse or those shoes or whatever it is, right? Right.
Mm.
What would you say to them now? Like, how would to get them to understand if they're not going to go into a bank, right? Like, what is it? What is it? What would you say to that person you were before you got into the bank, like to kind of get that perspective, that mindset, that change that you obviously have now.
Mm. Think about how many hours is this bag worth? Yeah, like for example, if you're gonna actually exchange 2 months of paycheck or 4 months of paycheck for that bag, is it really worth 4 months? 4 months of your life is in this bag. That's not worth it. I mean, and in actual fact, I feel like what the thing that keeps people poor is the need to want to look rich. And actually, rich is a byproduct of making right choices for your money. And for the rich, what they do is that they take their investment gains, they take their dividends, they take, all this passive income to splurge on this luxury, not directly from their active income into these luxuries.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the money flow that is actually wrong. But because when people don't see that and they only see their outward appearance, that's where they get confused and they spend like them, but they don't earn like them. And that's the problem.
Got it. Got it. That is very, very interesting. I lived in Taiwan for a couple of years and I was around some people that were very, very wealthy as well. And understanding how they think
Mm.
was that's what kind of blew my mind the most. Like they looked at money, they looked at the world so differently than me. And I'm like, I went to study business in school, whatever, but I learned nothing. Um,
Nothing to equip you to get good with money. It's really purely theory. And sometimes even in school, uh, they're not able to actually bridge this theory into how it's applied in the real world.
mm,
It's kind of like reading the story, like it's kind of like reading the game instruction on the instruction manual, but not playing the game itself.
yeah.
So there's still a gap because you're not sure how to then translate it into reality to serve you, to make you thrive.
Mm. No, you're 100% correct. So when I was in business school, I didn't think the teachers, the professors I had, they didn't have much experience either because they just went out of, they became teachers, they became instructors, professors, and now they're in university teaching us about business when they have no experience
No
themselves.
business experience.
But then I was around like real business people with experience who'd built
Mm.
multiple businesses, like serial entrepreneurs, very successful people. And I'm like, wow, they just think so differently. And I guess
Mm.
that's the one thing, if I was a kid, if I was younger, high school, I was like, I wish I'd had that perspective earlier on where I can be like, this is how they think, look at life these ways, and think a little bit ahead because getting that bag, or for guys, it can be different things, going on that trip or doing all those things, it's expensive. And there's so many things you can do with that money. And
Mm.
so okay,
Agree.
so now you're in the bank, all right,
Mhm.
and you're like, whoa, you guys are okay, this is how it works, huh? That's how you guys make so much money. So you were in how long were you in the bank? And then how did
I
you
mm,
transition out of that then?
I was in the bank for 10 years and I pivoted into cryptocurrency exchange because I was fascinated by the digital, yeah, I mean, this digital asset, and I just wanted to learn more about it. So
Nice. So you're into crypto as well. That in okay. So crypto an exchange. You work for an exchange?
I work for an exchange.
Nice. Very
So
exciting.
to really understand the full spectrum of the financial industry, which I know that your business has also something to do with crypto, right?
Yeah, yeah, it did.
And
I
I
was
would,
on more on the a few years ago, I was more on the other side. We were set up mining farms in different countries. So we'd buy hundreds and thousands of these mining machines to
Mhm.
support the network, and we'd set those up in these big, it's usually better to have it in a cold climate because they get really warm, so you want to keep them cool. But anyways, yeah, so that's the side I've been at. But you an exchange, which is a little bit different, quite a bit different actually than what I did. But yeah.
Mm. Similar, at least both of us are part of this, new technology and new, I would say monetary, ah, it's just a new way of finance. And I feel like, with the SEC approving the ETFs, things are really becoming real. And it's really good to be part of something that is growing.
That's
Yeah,
true.
so
That's true.
we are both involved in different areas. Like you are in the mining side, I'm dealing more on the client side, which is why, like understanding how then this kind of people think about money, that's also really different from the traditional high net, like they are high net worth too, but compared to the old money, their mindset and mentality is also pretty different.
That's true. That's true. You know, the people listening, you know what they're thinking right now? How early did you get in? How many Bitcoin do you have? And I'm like, oh, please don't ask me. Anyways, it's a long story, but yeah, that's how it is. It's now knowing what I know, I would have done things very, very differently. But that's just what it is. You learn as you go, you grow, and then you can make better decisions in the future. So that's the idea. So now you're working for exchange. You're like, okay, is that? And then now, how did you get into becoming a financial coach then?
Wow. So to me, it's really a calling. I was really, I felt this strong calling to do it. So I remember when I had to leave my job, in the beginning of no, yeah, because the calling was so strong that I really felt like, okay, I got to leave my job. So I remember when I told my boss, my then boss, that I want to leave the job because I want to help others. I wasn't able to even clearly articulate what exactly I want to do, but I know that, I need to make time to invest in myself, in further into myself, so that I can step on this mission that I feel called to do. So she was shocked. She was like, are you out of your mind? You're gonna leave this, pretty decent, like good paying job to help people? What are you doing? Are you gonna do charity or what? She was like, yeah, she was losing it. So, but thankfully she understood and she said, okay, like she gave me her full blessing and I just went ahead. And I'm so grateful that, the moment I decide to hear this inner guidance and this calling, clients started coming to me before I was even ready. I was still like doubting myself, like, really, can I like really help people with that? It was just an idea. But yeah, I had like my first client and then more, and I really feel so grateful for leaning into this, despite not seeing the the whole trajectory. Yeah, just really trusting the instinct and yeah, I just leap forward.
Wow. Okay. So tell me then. How was like just that process? This is what people want to know. A lot of people have been thinking the same things, like, well, maybe I can do it, but to actually do it is very, very different. So for
Yeah.
you, when you have a steady job, you're always successful, you're making a lot of money, your boss like, what's wrong with you? You're gonna help people, are you crazy? To make that decision to actually go do it, did you have people around you supporting you? Did you have enough money to be okay, at least I can make it for a while? Because those are things that people are is challenges and kind of obstacles for people to actually take that step. But you're certain, you're already sure you're going to help people and you're going to be like a money coach or financial coach. Like you know this is what you can do, right? So you're like, okay, I'm going to go all out. Is that
Okay, so the 2 points, yeah, about whether I have support around me and the money. So let's just address the first point first. So I didn't really have support because I realized even during different pivotal moment in my life when I took a radical change, people could not understand.
Mm.
Like for example, when I pivoted into crypto from banking, taking a pay cut, my colleagues were like, they thought I was crazy. Like what? So I would say that before I actually went into personal development and truly know myself at my core, I used to always seek validation and assurance externally. And that was exactly the thing that limits my growth. Because people from the outside, like people externally, people around you, they've never done what you want to do. So if that's what you want to achieve, then heed their advice. But if you have a vision for yourself, knowing that you have a bigger dream, you have a bigger goal, only listen to people who have done what you who have been there before and not listen to those who have not done it before. So, which is why I always seek out for my own teachers, my own mentors, my own guide, because they have walked the path. So I want to follow them, not follow the people around me, which is why the support doesn't have to be people within your proximity. I mean, these days, we are in a resource-rich age. We can always seek out for the resources, the support, the connection that we want. Because if you want to do epic shit, you can't listen to everyone. That's the first thing. Yeah, and the second point regarding money, I would definitely advise people to save up, to invest, which is why, getting yourself financially educated is so important. Because imagine if you only have 1 month of expenses you have only saved up enough to tide you through 1 month, you'll be in a, flight or fight mode. You can't be in a really calm and you can't feel abundant to be able to, just chill and take things at ease because you will send out the desperate energy that I really need this. I really need you I need to work with you. You need to use my service. But no, like if you feel the resonance, then talk to me. If you don't feel the resonance, that's okay. Be where you are because sometimes, especially for learning, personal development, personal growth, it's not suitable for everyone. Maybe to elaborate, to break it down even further, I won't say that it's not suitable for everyone, but sometimes at a certain season, we might not be ready. We might not be primed, which is fine to leave them where they are. But only, when they feel the calling, when they feel they are starting to seek, that's where they will have, yeah, I mean, that's why there's a saying, right? When a student is ready, the teacher will appear. Because if the teacher always want to preach and force things down the student, it will repel the student further and further away and they will lose their interest. They're not like, I'm not interested now, don't disturb me. Yeah, but when they start to seek, that's where, if your voice and your stories resonate with them, they will be drawn to you. And that's what I believe. So always save up. Always save up more than enough. Invest so that you can actually prepare a lifeline more than enough for you to make pivots without having to be overly stressed, to compromise and settle for less.
that is very good. Um, so the first thing you're talking about finding mentors,
Mm.
I want to touch on that a little bit because a lot of people say, well, I have nobody in my family, nobody in my inner circle, everyone thinks I'm just weird for wanting to do this. But what you're saying is because of the internet, the technology, there's lots of people out there that can mentor you from afar. But even if you've never had a conversation with them, you
Mhm.
can learn from them, from their stories, from their videos, from their teaching.
Mhm.
And you got AI tutors now, you got all kinds of stuff. Anyways, that's not a whole other thing, but but what you're saying is the timing, I think that is very important too, because
Yes.
so many people you see them or they're trying to they want this person or their friend or the family member to change, but they're just not ready. So it just doesn't land in their heart and they never get there. But what you're saying, like you had to get to a place in your life,
Mm.
and also the stuff that you went through, which was quite extreme. And then, you were ready, more primed than you probably were in the past for that. And there is a timing in that as well. So I think just people listening, realizing that, you know what? Yeah, you need, especially if you're going to be a money coach, you're going to be teach people finance. You can't be like, all right, I got 1 month to build a whole, to get clients. Come on, let's go. You need to be able to live that life yourself and have the money and investment, the wise investment do. So, okay, tell me about the first client, okay? Because for a lot of people, they're like, well, it's that first one. How do you get that first one? Because if you get the first one and it's a paying client, then
Mm.
it's like, wow, that is a big deal. Because I know some people they do things for free, which maybe you did as well. And then like, how do you stay be like, actually, I charge for this. Like, how did that go for you?
Wow. So for my first client, I met her through an event, also personal development. And because I feel like people like us, like you mentioned, right? Like we might, yeah. So, um, I feel like growth environment, because when people step into the environment of growth, they are already willing to learn. And just like people who land upon your podcast, they are already primed and ready to seek out for more. So we are already a step ahead. So for my first client, I actually met her as a friend. We just had a conversation, really heart to heart, genuine conversation. So I know about her, she get to know about me. And I feel like for her, I'm not sure what exactly I said. I was just really being me, sharing everything with her. And she felt comfortable and she saw something in me that could actually help her in her journey. So what I recognize is really the authentic, genuine connection. That is what matters the most. Mm. And once they're able to see the value, then the price becomes irrelevant. Mm.
Yeah, I think that's very, very good because a lot of people they'll be almost afraid to be like bring it up or whatever because they don't feel there's I guess there's like an illegitimacy or there's just like, well, I don't have any experience. I've never, but and it's challenging, but if you know what you're doing and you truly believe you're helping people and you have information, I think just realizing you have a wealth of knowledge,
Mm.
information in whatever area, and then
Mm.
and then be like other people don't have that. So you're gonna help them. And of course it's normal to pay for those things. Like you have to like there's nothing unusual about it. It's actually very, very normal because it's just
Exactly. But
just a
coming
way.
back to your point, what you mentioned is also so true, because sometimes, like, let's just say we moved out from a manufacturing era, so where we were actually being charged. I feel like our social conditioning conditioned us to actually associate our time pegged to a certain amount of dollar, which is why sometimes, especially for coaches, for people who actually provide solution that is not pegged with the hour, is still a hurdle that we need to go through to work through this, feeling of like, am I worth, I mean, like, is this something that is too much? Like, should I charge much lesser or should it be for free because it came so easy for me? Yeah, so these are things that we really have to consciously work through. And I feel like having a conversation with the other party, the person that you are helping, that's so important, because it's important for both parties to see where they are right now, where they want to go, and what's the gap. Because the bigger the gap from where they are to where they want to go, and if they can't get there by themselves, and if they perceive this as a high value change and transformation, that is where, if you're only pricing a fraction of this value that they see, that's like, is very reasonable, because you are giving much more than what they are paying for.
Right, right. No, that's very, very good. Fantastic. So again, then people working with you, you can help them with that too, right? Putting something together
That's what I think.
if they want to go down the road of this having clients or doing coaching, that's something that you can help people with too, right? Because
Mm.
that is, I think there's a lot of people that want to do these things, but finding somebody that can like help them through these things, it's just, it sounds just some small stuff, but there's it's a big step for a lot of people to be able to charge for a lot of these services. And I think that's the hardest, one of the hardest things in the beginning, to be like, well, how do I set all these things up? How do I present? How do I, you know, yeah. But anyways, that's very, very good. Cool. So now you're doing that. And so, okay, everything that happened to you, is that, and you, like a year and a half ago, right? That's when you started doing this full time. So after the exchange, is that a couple years ago then, or when did you stop at the exchange?
The exchange, I was there for 1.5 year before I joined a client, a Chinese client in a gaming company. So just to understand a bit more about the Chinese culture, which is why my ex-boss was shocked because being a native mainland Chinese, like to Chinese, most of them they look at money as everything, as a god. We even have, the god of wealth in Chinese. So, like a god. So, yeah, so basically for her, it's really difficult to understand, like, why would I give up like a five-figure monthly paid income to 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 start my own journey, and like it's just
Yeah.
like
And helping people, be like, well, helping people, what are you talking about? We're here to make money. Come on, let's go. It's a different mindset, yeah.
it is different, but which is why I feel like most people, it's a struggle of the left brain and the right brain, the the physical plane and the spiritual purpose-driven realm. So basically, that's what my work is, to integrate these both. Because what I realize is that also dealing with a lot of high net worth, wealthy people, because they are so stuck in their left brain logic, like this makes more money, but sometimes in intuitively something is off. But we always use our logic to say no, because this is what gives me the money. So because of the disconnection, that creates a lot of tension, and that creates a lot of self-sabotage, which is why like many high achievers, once they earn this amount, they will actually splurge on a big item, work harder, splurge at the expense of everything else. Could be their health, their relationship, their family, and everything. Just because, after earning this, sacrificing so much, the emptiness within, and if they don't listen to themselves, this void would never be filled. And they would need more external material matter to attempt to fill this void, which cause a bigger gap and a bigger void.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I see. That's a lot. That's a very, very good. I'm sure. Yeah. Fantastic. So how did you learn about, because the stuff you're talking about is not really just common knowledge at all, right?
Mm.
Most people don't haven't, yeah, maybe don't understand exactly. They understand what you're saying, but what you've learned and all that. So how did you, we met at a Blair Singer event. Have you been to other Blair Singer events too? Or how did you end? Because that was the third one,
Yes,
something like that, I think.
I've been to two
One
black.
okay. Okay.
Mm.
Did you learn from there? Like, what kind of content, conferences, whatever? How did you learn so much that you're just describing to me
I
now?
just went down the rabbit hole. When I started on personal development, I just went straight down, which is how we met, right? So Success Resources was actually one of the big one, because they have run a lot of events in Singapore, which is where we are based, in neighboring countries like Malaysia, and also My Valley was also a big part. So from there, because all these platforms allowed me to have exposure to so many brilliant minds, and when what they say resonates with me, I go down the rabbit hole to learn more and to discover. So I feel like there's a lot of self-initiative that is required to to continue to learn and lean into the curiosity. And not just that, to trust yourself and listen to yourself. Because sometimes I feel like how we are conditioned by society, we lost touch with ourselves, and we don't trust and we don't dare to listen to ourselves. We rather listen to like authority figure. We rather listen to someone else. But actually, all the answers and all that we want lies within us. And each of us has a unique map and a unique life journey. that we are supposed to, that we are here for. That's what I truly believe. And the reason why most people are unhappy because they are not on their own path. They are going on the right path determined by other people. And there's actually no right path. The right path is the path that is within. So if you trust yourself, listen to yourself, even what you do may seem radically weird or like people may not understand, but why is it important for others to understand when it's you that is really walking your path?
Hmm. Well, that's good. Very, very good. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. So you just whatever you can find of different content, you just keep searching, researching, researching. Because I think a lot of people will hear maybe about a little bit about it, and then they just like, meh. So not everyone is that, I guess, hungry or not interested. But you've gotten to the point where you're like, you know what, I need to figure something out. And then that motivated you to keep going to conferences, online, all these different things you've attended. Um, Maybe so at Blair Singer's event when I was there, I climbed Kilimanjaro with a group of us 2017. It was amazing. So during the debriefs, which is after every day, you climb all day and then you sit in a tent together and you sit and then you talk about the event.
Mhm.
And Blair Singer is so good at just asking questions and bringing out all this good stuff that we all experienced together as a team.
Mhm.
Now, I didn't know, I had no idea who he was. I didn't know what we were doing. I was like, wow, this is cool. But then when I went to the event in Penang, I was like, oh, this is what it is. He's very conscious. He's aware. He'd ask a question, and instead of answering himself, he lets somebody else answer it. And I'm like, okay, clever, clever. But he has a way of doing that. For you, you went there as well. Is that stuff you do with your clients, I'm assuming? Or
Yeah.
like I said, I feel there's very few people that actually can do that well. Like he's so
Mhm.
good at it. I definitely can't do it now. I'd love to be able to do it. But how have you incorporated that into just your life and working with your clients?
Oh, I've done it so much. I mean, as a coach, I think naturally, I tend to ask questions because it's not about what I say, it's about drawing, the wisdom within them. But after he broke it down in the trainer and master facilitation, I felt so clear, and there is a formula because back then it was like hit and misses, I wasn't sure, but after that I knew that, oh, there was actually a framework, a formula, and how he can do it so spot on and so well every single time. So in
Yeah,
a way he actually lifted the view behind all this magic.
amazing. Yeah, that's exactly what I felt. And now I didn't even know what I was getting into. I just kind of showed up. But it was now I see it and I see the frameworks. At first I experienced it. And
Yeah.
now I see it like, oh, anybody can do this. Of course, he's done it for so many years, so he's very, very good at it. But anyone can do that, and you incorporate that as well. So, anyways, that's something that I thought was just amazing. So, okay, another question. The last 5 years, I haven't worked very much because I had an injury. So I wasn't able to have a job or anything like that. But I realized financially, I hadn't saved up. I didn't have much coming in, so it was just like, whoa, I can't work anymore. For somebody, can you explain a little bit how do you work with people? Like for example, with me, if I'd worked with you a few years ago, then I could maybe have some income coming. What does it look like? Is it you mentioned crypto, you've been into that, but is it stocks? Is it investing? Like what else do you do to help people financially get is it financially free, is that you would say it, or is it passive income or what does that look like?
So basically I help them to develop an individual roadmap because, help people with different financial instrument. What I recognize is that there's no one path to Rome. So there's no one path to wealth. So if let's just say you're brilliant, like I do have clients who are really brilliant in doing businesses. So they can actually just focus on that. And for the other diversification of their portfolio, it's just to begin somewhere to lean into their interests. So for example, if crypto is something that, piques their interest, lean into that. And then once they are comfortable with that, then diversify into something else. So if you have not started any investment, just start with one that piques your interest and learn and and get yourself get the conviction and understand the language, understand how it works. Because once you actually master one area, then you'll realize that different financial instrument works in a similar way. It's really about, the patterns, the mindset, demand and supply, and I think if you were to actually distill down to the most basic, it's really just to identify what's an asset and what's a liability. Because most people, like when I wasn't good at finance, I confused assets and liability. I thought I was I miss I thought my liabilities were my assets. And I convinced myself using girl math before girl math was even a thing. And that's like the worst. Like, don't ever listen to this advice on TikTok about girl math. They are meant to be a joke.
Oh, that's funny. That's hilarious. Oh, that's good, good, good. All right, so I know we need to wrap it up now, but so people can work with you. I'm gonna post all your socials in the description so they can contact you, and then they can just reach out with you, set up a call maybe, or do something, interact, and then you maybe have
They can
introduction
come
or
play
something
with
like that.
me. So basically, I do, I mean, because what I realize is that for money, sometimes if we are just passively reading or we're passively, going to a course to listen, we may not really integrate and embody this learning. So what I did was I actually gamify this experience by, having daily, like for example, 1 week challenge where every day there will be a little snippet of a course for them to actually work on different aspects of themselves, and then different exercises, reflection for them to do. And we come together to actually, share about what we did. And then also we will actually meet to do a debriefing, to do a facilitation where we can get to learn together and also forge friendship and community.
Fantastic. Oh, that sounds wonderful, wonderful. Hey, thank you so much, Crystal. You've been amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. I know you've got a very,
Thank
very
you,
busy
Bjorn.
schedule,
Thank you
but
for your
I'm
time.
sure we all learned. I don't know, I learned a lot. So everyone else listening too, please contact Crystal. Check out her social in the description,
Thanks.
and
Oh, I still have a difficulty pronouncing your name. So can you teach us how to pronounce your name?
it's difficult for me as well. Okay, you're not the only one. Okay, so this side goes Bjorn.
Bjorn.
Very good, very good.
Bjorn. All
Awesome.
right.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Crystal. Take care. Okay, bye
So,
bye.
see you again. Bye.